Hmm. Hello. Gotta turn down the volume of the credits. Hi, I just watched Moonrise Kingdom, directed by Wes Anderson, and here I have a piece of paper with all the cast members. Directed by Wes Anderson and written by Wes Anderson. It's a Wes Anderson movie, also written by Roman Coppola, starring Jared Gilman and Cara Hayward, along with Bruce Willis, Edward Norton, Frances McDormand, and Bill Murray. Um, an pretty all-star cast. So this is a movie that I just sort of watched on a limb. I was just looking for things to pick up on Amazon Prime, and I was scrolling through and I saw this and I was like, oh well, I recommended Grand Budapest Hotel, which is previously the only Wes Anderson I've seen, to a friend. And so he's been in my mind, the past 2 days, and I saw this on Amazon, and I was like, oh, I'll just give this a try. I was looking for a movie to watch, and I gave it. And this movie is really interesting. It's way more weird and experimental than I thought. This is where the only other Wes Anderson movie I've seen is Grand Budapest Hotel, and that feels like kind of more of just a fun fairy tale sort of romp thing, where this is definitely a lot more out there, a lot more weird, um, a lot more intimate and sort of edgy and personal. So the synopsis, and here, let me just pause the credits. The synopsis is it takes place on a fictional New England island. And there's a young 12-year-old boy who's a Boy Scout, and there's a young 12-year-old girl, and they run away. And she lives in sort of she lives in a house with siblings and two lawyer parents. They're both 12 years old, and they run away. And they're sort of in love, and they're escaping through the wilderness, and they kind of get to this beach and make camp on this beach. And at the same time, you find out the boy is an orphan, and the parents have recognized that the daughter is quite mentally ill and having a lot of trouble, and a lot of the people. There's a very small island. I live in Canada, so I could akin it to even a even more, or even just it's like Prince Edward Island, and they're all trying to find them, and it's a very sort of rich movie. There's a lot going on. The whole thing is presented in very very interesting cinematography. The setting of this movie is very weird. It's all these weird rural kind of pseudo-American landscapes. It's all got this interesting yellow tint to it. It has a lot of that signature, flat waist height Wes Anderson sort of style, but it does go into like weird, interesting handheld for a lot. It looks almost at times like I was gonna say the Ogilvy's window. If you know what that is, if you live in Montreal, you do. And it's very out there, and it deals with a lot of these really interesting sort of themes. There's some interesting kind of child sexuality, which is something I don't think I've ever seen in a movie before, and it's interesting. And the whole movie's kind of told as in it's definitely alluding to the idea that it's like kind of a biblical children's tale, like the kind you would read in like a short novella at Scouts, which is part of the movie, and the whole thing definitely follows very heavily a flood myth, where at the end there's this big storm that wipes out the entire place. It's very interesting. There's a lot to unpack. In terms of just entertainment, it's Wes Anderson. It's very interesting. It's entertaining. It's weird and very unique. There's some jokes that are very Wes Anderson jokes that are quite funny. And it's not it feels very meta. It's not something that feels super raw in a sense, where it's definitely more of a writery movie than I would say something like Grand Budapest Hotel, which is more immediate. And it's something where It is entertaining and it is very interesting, but it's something, these are first impressions, right? I just watched. It's like the equivalent of an unboxing, but for a movie. But this is something that definitely, once I get to film school and, film school looks like it's going to really like its artsier movies, I would definitely watch this a couple times over again and take notes and go through it because it seems to be more substantive than Grand Budapest Hotel, which I think is more of an adventure romp, and it's very cool. It's very interesting, and gives me more respect for Wes Anderson as a director. It definitely has a little bit of like art, film quirk, and it's smart enough that it's not annoying like At Eternity's Gate or whatever, which I just think is dumb. And yeah, it's a very weird, very sort of very Wes Anderson intimate, um, out there creative movie. I obviously get some, Swiss Army Man vibes, which is, I mean, I just relate a lot to that because it's my favorite movie. And I think it's, some things that have definitely not been explored. And this movie's, it's from 2012. I forget where it's placed in his filmographies. If this is an older, newer one, it's definitely, I think, in the former half. But yeah, anyways, so if you're interested in Wes Anderson, check this one out. I'd probably just give it a solid 7 out of 10. It's solid, and I would definitely revisit again in a bit. Thank you for watching my video. I just watched Moonrise Kingdom, and have a great day. Bye.